principal of the Talmud Torah of Minneapolis came to the bar mitzvah. He was a very thoughtful, scholarly type. And he heard people saying to the bar mitzvah boy, you should grow up to be a Hasid, a Yerushalayim, and a Lamdan. A Hasid, God-fearing, and a scholar. This man came over to me and he said, why do you begin with Hasid? Hasid means beyond the letter of the law. So first you have to be God-fearing and keep the letter of the law. Then you can become a scholar, which is a step up. And then, if you want to continue beyond the letter of the law, then you become a chassid. But you can't start with being a chassid. It's a very good question. And after thinking about it, I realized, what does it mean beyond the letter of the law? When Hasidus first began, and were given the title Hasidim because it's beyond the letter of the law, the religious community was very worried. Beyond the letter of the law sounds like an outlaw. If you're not going by the law, who knows what you're going to do? So they were very concerned that this Hasidic movement is not going to be frum. But that's not what beyond the letter of the law means. Like, for example, you have a mezuzah on your door, but it's a tiny little thing, costs $20. And you're not satisfied with that. You go and you buy a larger, better quality mezuzah for $200. Is that beyond the letter of the law? It's true that you're not obligated to spend $200 on a mezuzah. But if you do, are you going beyond the letter of the law, or you want to make sure that you're keeping the law best? It's not beyond the letter of the law. You keep kosher, but you want to make sure that the kosher is really kosher. Is that beyond the letter of the law? You're making sure that it's kosher. That's keeping the law. So what can you possibly do that would be beyond the letter of the law? You can put 2 mezuzahs on the door? That's not kosher. The word in Hebrew for beyond is lifnim. But that can also mean before. Not beyond, but before. Before you get to the letter of the law, what is there? What is there before the letter of the law? The lawgiver. Before there is the mitzvah, there is the mitzaveh. Before a commandment, there's a commander. Going beyond the letter of the law means you're doing what you're going to do because of who asked you to do. So some people will follow a law because it's the law. They follow laws. They obey commandments. But sometimes the reason that you do what you're told to do is because of who told you. So you know the story that the Torah was offered to every nation and they all said something wrong and they didn't get the Torah. But when it was offered to the Jews said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we will study it, and they got the Torah. What did the other nations say that was wrong? God came to them, to their angel, and said, I have mitzvot. Are you interested? So they very sensibly, responsibly, intelligently said, what's a mitzvah? Which mitzvah? And God said, never mind. You don't get it. When he came to the Jewish people and he said, I have mitzvot, they said, you have? Yes. If it's your mitzvah, the answer is yes. Which mitzvah? I don't care. If it's your mitzvah, the answer is yes. Because for you, anything you want. And God said, you're my kind of people. Because the reason God wants us to do his mitzvah is because we are who we are. He wants us to do his mitzvah. So when we responded to him, it was the same way. I don't care what the mitzvah is, I want to do for you. That is lifnim mishuras hadin. That means going beyond the letter of the law and responding to the lawgiver. The rest of the world doesn't understand this. Some philosopher asked one of the sages, you're supposed to be an intelligent people. You said yes before you even knew what the mitzvah was? You signed a contract and you didn't even read the text? That's reckless, not intelligent. What were they not understanding? It's not about the mitzvah. It's about the connection that the mitzvah brings. The connection to whom? It's a very personal, one-on-one relationship. We want him, he wants us. That's not an easy thing to accomplish. To follow laws, not so hard. But to always be responsive to somebody who is important to you, we know from marriage, is not always easy. In marriage, it very often becomes about, what did you do? Why did you do it? Why can't you do what I ask? We get beyond all that. Doesn't matter what you do. It's who are you doing it for? So, this has to come at the end, after you become a God-fearing person and a scholar? No. When you tell your child to make a bracha on a cookie, what do you tell him? You can say, you must make a bracha on the cookie, because if you eat a cookie without a bracha, it's a sin. Or you can say, if you eat the cookie without the bracha, God will be disappointed. Because he was hoping to hear a bracha from you. That's beyond the letter of the law. You're going directly to the lawgiver and responding to him. That's the way it has to be. And that's what Hasidus brings out, and that's what Hasidus explains, and that's what Hasidus inspires. And that's why Hasidim in Russia could outmatch and outlive and out-survive the Tsar and communism and whatever they threw at them. The answer was, I do what God says. You can't destroy people like that. You find statements in the Torah, but nobody really paid attention or appreciated it. God says, if you don't do the mitzvahs, I regret creating the world. That's pretty serious. If you don't do the mitzvahs, then this whole creation is worthless to me. It's very much like a man meets a woman and they decide to get married, and he is very excited. He goes and he hires the best architects in the world to build them a home. And he hires the fanciest venue, the fanciest wedding hall in the world. And then he hires the best chef, and he hires the best musicians and the greatest photographers. And he runs around telling everybody how proud he is of the architect and the chef and the musicians and the place. And then a week before the wedding, she changes her mind. And she said, I don't want to marry him. Is he still proud of the architect and the chef and the musicians? No. He doesn't need them at all. How do you get rid of them? Pay him off. Tell him to go away. So God creates a beautiful world. He creates a wonderful life. And he's so proud of it. How awesome is God's creation? How wonderful is God's creation? But if we say no, then he's going to have to get rid of it all because he doesn't need it. You learn Hasidus and your relationship with God becomes real. It becomes personal. It becomes intimate. It becomes indestructible. Consciously. You learn Tanya and you figure out how connected is every Jew to God. And then you learn the second part of Tanya, and you find out how connected is God to his people. Now you have a real marriage. Now the rest is commentary. Any mitzvah, every word in Torah becomes precious because this is my God speaking. So as somebody once said, when you read the Torah, and you've already read it many times, what are you gaining? You know the Torah by heart, and you sit and you read it again. What's the point? So he made this analogy. You get a letter from someone you love who you haven't seen in a long time. You're going to read the letter just to find the information that's in it? Or you're going to read it again? You already know what it says. But you read it for the pleasure of hearing from the person you love. That's how you read the Torah. But you have to understand how much God is invested in the Torah. How it's his need that created the world, not ours. We didn't ask. We don't need the world. He created the world because he wants something. And what does he want? He wants to have us be his people. And that the whole world should recognize it and celebrate it. That's what's going to happen in the immediate future. The entire world that has been jealous of Jews and anti-Semitic for all of history are finally going to turn around and say, what are we jealous of? The world was created for the Jews, and we get to be part of it. If God didn't create the world for the Jews, we wouldn't exist. So what are we jealous of? We should be proud. The coming of Mashiach means the nations of the world become proud to be part of this incredible marriage between the Jewish people and God. And then, like guests in a wedding, they'll come, they'll want to bring gifts, they want to make sure you're happy. What do guests at a wedding do? Why are they invited in the first place? They're not getting married. They're thrilled for the couple who are getting married. That's how the world is going to be when Mashiach comes. And I hear it and I see it every day happening in front of my eyes. Thanks to the internet. The world wants to help, wants to be involved, wants to get some of the benefits of a guest at an incredible wedding. So every day that Mashiach doesn't come, we're disappointed, they're disappointed. Because they're anticipating this wedding. And we get a really good meal. All the souls in heaven are anticipating this wedding because then they can come back into their bodies. So if we just think for a minute, the next mitzvah you do is not for your benefit, for your becoming perfect, for your portion in heaven. No. The next mitzvah you do can be a blessing to all the souls in heaven, to all the non-Jewish people in the world, 7 billion, maybe 8 billion. 8 billion people will benefit if you do a mitzvah and bring Mashiach a minute sooner. A minute sooner for 8 billion people. That's 8 billion minutes sooner. So admire, be in awe of every mitzvah, any mitzvah. It doesn't matter which one it is, because it can be the tipping point that brings Mashiach. God will be happy, the souls will be happy, we of course will be happy, and the non-Jewish world will be happy. It's not a petty project. It's global, it's cosmic, it's divine. So learn a little Hasidus. It's like oxygen for your soul. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.